Welcome to Roll the Tape, where we dive into the stories, the legacies, and the evolution of grass and beach volleyball in the Midwest. From past legends to future stars, game footage and deep conversation, we're here to grow the game, build community, and keep the passion alive. Our guest today is a good friend of mine. He's one of the top players in the Midwest and in the country over the past 5 or so years, maybe a little longer. He's dedicated himself to being a student of the game, and he's brought a lot of awareness to our game by being a prominent YouTube creator. I'm talking about, of course, Mr. Chandler North. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Yes, happy to be here.
So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today, but first, I want you to tell us where we're at and why we're here. It's kind of a unique situation that we have this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. We're coming to you from Whitefish Bay High School. I'm back coaching high school this fall at my alma mater, Catholic Memorial High School. Been a real exciting season. Just about a month left, right, postseason right around the corner, and there's a tournament here this Saturday. So appreciate you guys coming down, see a little bit about the high school volleyball scene, and then excited to chat through the history of grass volleyball and some of my experiences throughout the way.
Yeah, great. This tournament is what it's called, the Whitefish Bay Classic or something like that. I played in it when I was in high school, at least twice. Did you come and play in this one at all when you were in high school?
Yeah, 4 years coming here.
Yeah, okay. This is, I remember my senior year, it was the same day as homecoming, and I had forgotten to purchase the corsage for my date, so I had to be out on the phone with, I don't know, my parents or somebody's cell phone and getting them to buy my date to go buy the corsage herself. But yeah, that's what I remember most about this tournament. And the unfortunate combination of hardwood and some type of synthetic turf that it'd be much nicer to play on the hardwood. So hopefully you guys make it to the finals today and you're playing there later. Is this your first season coaching high school?
I coached a little bit when I was in college, but that was always at the JV level or as an assistant. And then last year I was at CMH as a varsity assistant. This is my first year as head coach of the program.
Okay. Are you enjoying it?
It's been a blast. Great kids, great family, great program, history across the program. So a lot of success and high expectations, and I'm all for that.
Yeah. Well, cool. Good luck today. So some of the topics I want to go through today are a little bit about your journey, who you've played with over the years, and dig into some footage as we work through your process of analyzing film. That's one of, I think, your unique and best traits as a student of the game, is your collection, your vast collection of film, but also the way you study it. I think that's something our viewers might be interested in learning. And then I want to kind of bring it back to full circle with your journey about what drives you, what motivates you, and what's next for you. So let's kind of start a little bit, not quite at the beginning, but you're from the greater Milwaukee metro area. You said you went to Catholic Memorial High School. What was kind of the recruiting process for you? Were you interested in playing volleyball in college? Were there opportunities for you? And what ultimately led you to go to Marquette?
Yeah, great question. So when I came into Catholic Memorial, I was mainly basketball and soccer. I actually went to both tryouts, soccer and volleyball, that first day of school in the fall semester because they overlap here in Wisconsin. I chose volleyball. The program was a little bit stronger. I had more grade school friends that played volleyball, and I'm just so grateful that that's the decision that was made. So over the 4 years at Catholic Memorial, volleyball then became my favorite sport, but I didn't play club until I was 17 years old.
Okay.
So a lot of my peers and guys who play at the high school level, especially at the varsity level, have played on the national scene on club teams for several years by that point, and a lot of the recruiting happens through clubs.
Yeah, so. Right, especially in that summer between maybe junior and senior year.
Yep. So my junior year was my first year of really playing on a travel team, and then by senior year in high school I was interested, but it was kind of too late. So really the only schools that had recruited me were NJIT and then Princeton. So then I pursued Princeton pretty hard, and then ultimately went to Marquette, financials, other things, and then I was comfortable with Marquette because my whole family had gone there. 7 of my aunts and uncles, grandparents, parents had gone there. I had an older sibling there, so it was just an easy transition and kind of putting school first. So it worked out really well.
Yeah, that's if you guys know Chandler, you know that I don't know what they say, but what color, blue and gold or something like that is the Marquette colors.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if you cut him open, that would be the color of his blood. Just a rabid, loyal Marquette fan, which you know you expect from that many people in your family going to that school. So you're at Marquette, and they don't have a varsity program, but they have a club volleyball program. At what point did that factor in your decision? Did you know they had a club program before you went to the school, and how did you get involved with that?
Yeah, so I knew they had a competitive club program. One of my old teammates from CMH was in graduate school at Marquette, so it was an easy transition again from that, and I actually got super lucky because right away on day one at college, there was 2 other guys that kind of passed up Division I looks. Danny Rivera, who was he had gone to Olympics in sand. He had played on U19, national
Olympics,
training teams. So he was a pretty highly sought after recruit for Ohio State, and he ended up choosing Marquette for scholarship and education purposes. So amongst our freshman class, there were 9, 10 really strong players. Half of them were in my major. All of them became my roommates in college. So we got lucky in having a very talented, motivated group, especially for college club volleyball.
Yeah, that stuff is always, it seems to go in cycles depending on who walks in through the door, and you never know who that's going to be. Whereas at a varsity program, they're obviously very sure to know who is going to be because they're doing the recruiting.
Yep.
You know, at Marquette, you guys had this great talent coming in, but great talent doesn't equal success. You have to work for it. You have to organize the structure for it, and that was something that I thought you guys did really well. After I had graduated from Milwaukee, I was still in the area. I was looking to play and get practice reps, not just game reps. I wanted to improve and continue working on my own game. But I also wanted to find a group of people who were very motivated to do the same and motivated to win. And so I don't recall how exactly I got in touch with you guys, but I eventually started coming into some practices with you and just trying to lend a little bit of my skills that I had developed as a leader and you know, player coach myself at Milwaukee. And that was the reason why. Like I didn't go back to Milwaukee because the times I'd go there, it kind of felt like, well, these players are not really here to win. They're not. And you guys were like, we want to win a national championship.
Yeah.
And so that was a goal that I could get behind and try to support. What were those kind of early interactions that you and I had like for you on your end at Marquette?
Yeah, well, I guess how it all came to be. So after a couple years together, we found our groove where we were beating college teams or college club teams and not getting pushed. So we always wanted to find ways to get pushed. And that's when we really got introduced to the adult community. So early on, while in college, we were seeking out, invited to, became friends with a lot of the top adult players, especially with right there in Milwaukee. So having you guys in our gym just to practice against, scrimmage against, kept pushing us forward. And we really saw some results from that too, because by our senior year, so we had left junior year as the #1 ranked team. We didn't win nationals, but we left as the #1 ranked team. And then we went an entire calendar year without losing against the college team. It was like 93-0, I think, going into nationals. Wow. So it obviously helped us a ton. So small coaching feedback, tactics, but also just elevating the level of play helped us out so much. So
in the practice gym.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure, because no one else in the country, in my opinion, in college club was getting that high level during the week. They could touch it on weekends. They could maybe go out and seek other types of tournaments, adult player, but we had that talent right there in Milwaukee. So having you guys in the gym was paramount for our growth as a team, my growth as a player, and just keep pushing us forward.
Yeah, well, I think it went both ways. For myself, getting into that type of motivated environment, you guys weren't pushovers. It wasn't like an easy match for us to go in and compete, even in practice. So it was a way for me to go out and get better myself. Plus, you guys were always talking shit, and that was that was good motivation to. Yeah, probably not you, but I think your setter from Puerto Rico, I forget his name.
We had some mouths.
It was loving the opportunity to trash talk some of the older players. Okay, so then after college is done, you guys have put all this effort to kind of learn the people in the adult community. So it must have been a pretty easy transition then to start playing in the adult community. Or did that already start happening before you were done with college?
Yeah, we started to sign up for the Chicago Luau tournaments for the winter reps against the adult teams right away in college. So we would send the Marquette team down. So it was very seamless. Those were already our friends. That's who we were traveling with on weekends. So when I had graduated, when our class had graduated, it was what we were already doing, and it was just keeping, if you wanted to keep playing, it was, you knew where to go, you knew the people, you were comfortable with the environments, you had success in those environments, so it made it that much more fun, and like, no duh, that's how we're going to spend our weekends.
Yeah, you just keep going, huh? So at what point did you start transitioning from indoor into outdoor? Because, I mean, you still play a lot of indoor, but that's indoor is what, late September until late April?
Yeah.
And then now you're all outdoors all summer. So at what point did that start happening?
Yeah, the first call I got for a grass tournament was through, in College Club, we had the WVC, so it was a lot of the Wisconsin schools in the surrounding area. Mm-hmm. And Oshkosh had a very strong program. A lot of Oshkosh players are familiar with Waupaca Boatride and the grass community, so Oshkosh has it ingrained into their culture,
right,
that their summer is out on the grass. So a friend of mine who we're still super close friends 10 years later, Brandon Schmidt, called me up in a scramble the night before Circle Tap.
Okay.
And he goes, "Hey Chandler, I think I saw you at Boat Ride last year. Would you have any interest playing this grass tournament?" So I drive up there the night before. It was me, Brandon, and AJ Moriarty. We had a really good run, and I kind of realized that it fit my game really well, being strong and attacking with range, so having multiple shots in play, and then at that time, like, the strength and serving could kind of bail me out of some other skills that was lacking. So I felt like it was, one, a lot of fun, and then two, it fit my game really well. So if my friends were all doing it and it fit my game well, I could start to beat players that had been playing longer than me or that were better than me, and that's when the itch really started.
Yeah, so what year was that?
That would probably be like 2017 summer.
Yeah.
So I, in the scheme of things, against open level players around the country, one of the biggest motivation factors for me is thinking I'm still like a baby. Like, I'm 8 to 10 years of playing outdoor. Like, we did some sand stuff, but I never really played tournaments in college. And then I did occasional like rec grass tournaments, but that was always like the first one in my mind of an open level tournament, or like, yep, I'm in, I'm gonna start to play. So now 8 years in total under my belt, that's still so immature in the scheme of things when you go around the country and you
Yeah.
look at the success of pro players.
Well, 8 more years, your knees might be like mine. You know? 2017, yeah, that was. So at that point, I believe was the first year I decided not to play circle tap, specifically so that I could go play. I think it's called the beach slap or the big dig. There's a big. They run 2 really big beach tournaments in Chicago every summer. I forget the order, but one of them is the same weekend, the same Saturday as circle tap. And so 2017 was the year I decided, okay, I'm going to focus on sand. And so I skipped that year. So I don't remember your debut personally.
Yeah. That's probably why I had a little bit of success or that itch going. You know, like you knew these really strong players because it wasn't necessarily just you. Relia, Bill, Lang, like all those guys, you guys had so much success and were so polished already that coming in, it wasn't. You guys were very welcoming and helpful, and you would coach up.
Yeah, and we
young
had
talent.
known each other for a while at that point too.
But there is an element of being like intimidated, like I'm never going to be that good. Like there's no chance. But when you have so many tournament options, you get to play against the big dogs. You get to go play smaller events. You get to go up north.
You cut your
Wisconsin.
teeth on the local circuit.
you get the feel, and then you can kind of learn. You're like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah. I think the first time I personally recall playing against you in grass was maybe like a Triples Fest tournament.
I can recall
2018 or 19? 2019 maybe?
It's probably like 2018-ish.
I played with Travis Hudson and Kyle Overby, and you played with Quinn? No,
Marcus Reamer and Bob,
Reamer
maybe?
and Bob Hall, yeah. I think that was, if it was 2018, was it 18 or 19? Do you recall exactly?
I mean, I have that one in film, so it makes me want to think it's like 2019, 2020.
I think it was
maybe.
2019. That tournament's in June, is that right? Pre-boat ride?
Yeah. It was always like Pottstown weekend
Okay.
at Triples Fest.
So then it must have been 2018, because 2019 I played Pottstown. So that was the first time I remember playing against you guys. We played against Ian Zalewski. That was the first time I recall playing against him as well in the semis. And I remember he was like a chatty Cathy the whole time during that match, just really enjoying like the competition, and not in like a trash talking way, but just like constantly talking. Oh man, you got me that time! Like great swing, and especially at that point in my career, I hadn't played with any Brazilians yet, so I was really quiet and reserved on the court, and it was just kind of weird to have this guy like chatting at me that whole time. But then we played against you guys in the final, and I remember being kind of mildly surprised that you guys were in the final. But it was a really close match. You guys pushed us really hard. I think we needed some late game heroics in game 1 to pull that off. But I remember you guys playing really well. I remember you having a lot of range on your swings. You guys. I also remember your serve receive strategy was, and you talk about it in one of your learning videos, to protect the middle, and you just completely give up the sideline. You're like, go ahead, ace me up the line. And I remember Travis missed that serve like 5 times. He was very frustrated with himself. I said, Travis, you don't have to hit the line. Just aim like 2 feet to Chandler's left, and if he dives for it, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that was my first memory of you playing grass, personally, like the two of us playing against each other. What was you said you remember it pretty clearly. Do you have like takeaways from that match, or what about it stands out in your memory?
That run, because Marcus and Bob are extremely strong servers. I remember how it was a serving battle, because down by the lake you also have some extra wind.
Extra windy, yeah.
And then how Bob and Marcus gave every opportunity to me, because at that time I was mainly the primary hitter and offensive, and then I had like hitting errors late. So it's nothing like tactically that you really learn it, but it was one of those moments being young and new out onto the grass. And I talk about this in some of my videos of like how you overcome this, where the experienced guys can be down by 2-3 points the whole way, and then it gets late and it kind of flips, where I didn't really track my heart rate then. I didn't practice my breathing prior to then. So then when it gets to crunch time, like I'm super excited. Like I want it more than anyone else, and it's kind of working against me then because I didn't know how to capitalize on it. So it was one of the learning steps along the way.
Yeah, it's very rare that you see somebody come out and be super young and super dominant. And I mean, maybe that happens occasionally, but it's hard in very close matches and in very tight moments for the younger, less experienced person to succeed over an older, calmer opponent. I remember, yes, when I was, so you would have been, what age were you at that point?
I would have been 23.
Yeah, so when I was 23, I mean, we had won some events, but I remember a lot of really close matches that had gone to 3, where it would just slip away from us. You know, the other team might make a great serve or make a block or just have some type of consistency in their game that we lacked. And it may not be necessarily that the errors came at the end. They maybe had just accumulated enough throughout the course of the match that you know, the result doesn't go in our favor. But eventually you start winning those matches. You start figuring out how to stay consistent for longer periods of time, how to stay within yourself mentally and stay focused on the outcome. So, and you've definitely done that, and you've taken that from the Wisconsin and Chicago tournaments to a national scale. So at what point did you either learn about and decide, okay, I'm going to go out and compete down in South Carolina, or you know, however far else you've gone, what was kind of the tipping point that said, okay, I'm ready, I'm going to go out there and chase those bigger events?
Yeah, there's probably 3 main things. So one, I had been recording stuff on YouTube. It started kind of for pleasure to watch back the big games, but then I was learning a ton from the film. So my YouTube algorithm would recommend grass volleyball. So I'm certain that no one in the world has watched more grass volleyball than me. So hearing about Pottstown and Clash and Crown and all these different pockets and communities that have grass around the country, I was seeing it start to come up on YouTube. So one, the familiarity with it kind of came through YouTube, social media, Facebook, etc. And like word of mouth, because that was kind of becoming the friend group.
Right, because some of the guys around here, Smo, Bob, Relia, Mikolau, had gone and played at the Crown and at Clash. Before them, like the Cedarburg brothers would do it. So there was a little bit of that path already blazed.
Yep. So it was easy to kind of follow in their path. And then the second thing is, I really started this in like 2021-ish. It was right when the AVP announced the grass tour.
That's right.
So the last part about it was that's right when we got back from Denmark. So having played on the adult community for a handful of years with some success, especially in indoor at the luau tournaments with that connection through Marquette. In indoor Chicago, we got the invite to go out to Denmark. So I had basically a pro season under my belt of touching a volleyball for hours every day. So if ever my ball control and skills were ready to go, it was right away when the AVP Grass Tour came to be. Right. So I asked Bob and Smo if they would go down to Clash. We had
asked me first.
We had one heck of a freaking trip, and then I kind of realized that road tripping to volleyball was just
Fun.
super fun.
Yeah.
You're playing against guys who don't really know your games as much, so your strengths are that much better. Your weaknesses are a little more hidden. The level of play just goes up and up kind of as a result because it's their best versus your best. Versus
Yeah.
like locally, you're playing C or playing D versus each other because you know each other's games so well.
And the money's not as good as
Yeah.
when the AVP chips in
Yeah.
a bunch of money to it. Yeah.
And the ambiance, I mean, a true stadium court, an announcer,
DJ.
full DJ setup. Like, it is special to go experience that. So, it was in 2021 when that really started for me, and we had some success kind of right away. So, I felt like I could do it. I felt like we could do it. The friend groups that I was traveling with, and even if it didn't go well, like we just had so much fun that stayed with it.
Yeah, and so what was, you are talking a little bit too about how when people don't know your game very well, you can have sometimes some success where, you see this on the International Pro Beach Tour. It's called the honeymoon phase, when a new team comes out and they do super well. For example, Miles Partey and Andy Benesh, when they first started playing international pro tournaments together, I think they won 2 in a row, like Elite 16. They beat Mullen Sorum in the finals in Montreal, and then they haven't been able to replicate that same success since. And I think part of that is like the scout hasn't been out on those teams
It
yet.
happens in MLB as a pitcher, as hitters. It happens in NFL. You have a couple weeks of success, and then all of a sudden the offense doesn't look like it can move the ball anymore. Like,
Right.
It's similar across many different sports.
So success is more of it's not a destination, and long-term success is about evolution, about change, so that you can meet those new scouts, that new setup against you, and learn how to compete against that. We'll get into that a little bit when we're talking about film. But I do want to revisit Denmark a little bit. That was such an interesting time for, I think, both of us. For those of you who don't know, Chandler and I were teammates at Gentofte, which is a very prestigious pro volleyball club and sporting club, and just outside Copenhagen. And we got a season together, 2020 into 21. But I think you and I had really different experiences. So I'd be interested in hearing what your experience was like from getting there months earlier than I did, and just how the process was for you to fit into the team, adapt to the lifestyle, etc.
Yeah. Well, first off, the head coaches we both knew from the Chicago area, which super helped. Dan and Coley were the best in terms of making that dream a reality for me. In terms of getting integrated early on, it was a little bit easier, I think, for me because Dan basically gave me a call. He's like, look, we don't have a body that can fill practice. Like, we need a 12th guy. Like, the expectations for you, Chandler, would be nothing. To allow us to play sixes in practice. I'm like, okay, I can do that. Like, if you need a body, I can be a body. And then it took a little while to get to that level of ball control, but my attacking held up, especially with that environment. I quickly got into like the best shape of my life. Everything was closed. It was COVID. There's not really much of a social life when you're halfway around the world. So you just naturally are eating cleaner, healthier food. You have better habits of going to bed. That
partially because you're exhausted.
Yeah. You're working hard. So all of that just gave me, coming in with no expectations. The team kind of understanding my role was no expectations. It made no pressure for an easy transition in, where I felt like I was close to cracking the starting lineup. Probably not for like any playoff run, because those guys had won however many straight Danish titles, but to like contribute significantly on the court, whether for sure in practice, but also like knocking at the door in a game. So it was an awesome season, and having that growth and outplaying the expectations, I think, brought it out together pretty well.
Yeah, the other thing I thought you brought to the team was just a lot of unbridled enthusiasm. When you're playing overseas, it's a job.
It's a 9-month season. These guys get exhausted. A lot of that group was kind of on the back end of their careers. They had all this success.
Yeah.
So how excited are they going to be for a September practice? It was my Super Bowl
Right.
to get up for practice.
Right. And I think having people in the environment like that is extremely helpful. I know there were days where my knees, at that point it was just my right knee, would ache the entire time I was awake, and I would wake up in the middle of the night with knee pain. And yet we'd go to practice and you're like, let's pepper, let's go, you know? And so it was helpful for me, and I'm sure it helped the team a lot to continue to work hard in practice and to strive for that. I kind of think that our team had so much depth in it that there were multiple lineups that we could have run and been successful at, and I think some of those lineups would have included you on the court at outside. It was kind of an interesting situation politically. There was some turmoil going on in the leadership of the club, and that made it difficult as players to kind of know where we stood. As a foreigner, it felt like kind of artificially being inserted into the lineup in certain ways. It was challenging, but
to your credit, you the contract for you and travel got you there 2 months late, like 3 months late.
Yeah, my passport was expired, and because of COVID, I couldn't renew it, and I almost missed the opportunity entirely. Except I called our Congresswoman Gwen Moore to asked for help, and then literally within one day I had my passport renewed.
Crazy.
But yeah, I didn't get there until until Thanksgiving Day, and then it took like another month and a half to get cleared to play in matches. But yeah, it was a challenging way to gain the respect of the team and kind of work my way into the lineup.
Yeah.
I was pretty confident going in that I'm coming here, we're gonna win, and they didn't need me at all to do that. But I was still I didn't get hired here to not win. So there was a lot of faith in what I was going to bring to the team. But it was it was a difficult scenario in a lot of ways. But you were a very steadfast and joyous person to be around during that time period, and that was definitely, there were moments in that period for me that were very challenging. You know?
For context, so I talked about how there was no expectations for me. The right side of the team, almost 7 foot tall, one of the best Danish,
6'10",
one of the best beach blockers.
He's the MVP of the indoor league the year before. Yeah.
So he was considering going full-time sand, and there was turmoil because they didn't want sand to overlap indoor a ton. And then with you getting there late, he was then kind of all in, or very interested in playing well. So it was we're gonna have Tomás start over this guy. I'm like, yes, we are going to do that. So you got healthy, and did they announce an MVP down the playoff run? I don't know. He was the leading point getter for sure down the stretch in playoffs.
Yeah, so. they did have all the top 6 or 7, with a libero in there, and I did end up making that spot in as the opposite, but I'm pretty sure Holman would have succeeded in that role as well.
He was very good.
And at that point, I had originally gone in as an outside. I felt very confident playing outside. I had several matches. I had 2 matches where I had double-digit kills, no hitting errors. But it was just it was a strange thing. But like I said, we had so much depth on the roster with you and Holman and Mess and Hardy. We had a really experienced setter with Seb, and it was going to work out in a lot of ways.
That still, to me, is the highest level ball that I think I've played. There's been matches that got to that point, but to be this team, I know day in and day out, especially with that starting lineup, just nails, so consistent. You could tell they were championship hardened. So it was cool to experience.
And we had great middles too. Like I think our middles were better than
faster,
every other middle
more physical,
in the league by far.
Great servers.
Yeah.
Could handle the ball.
Yeah, I hated passing Nikolai's float serve.
Yeah.
It was, but that's, I think also you talked about your ball control at the beginning. It's a new ball. It's completely different. The way it moves, even just looking at it, the read is a different read. And so you have to kind of give yourself some grace when you're changing balls, which happens occasionally outdoors. You move from the King of the Beach ball with the panels that we used to play with years
Super
ago.
hook, like
tons of
curve.
action on the serve. To now we play with the Wilson, and there were some
It's a little more true.
It's a little, it's rounder. Before the optics ball, they had the white and yellow AVP Wilsons. I kind of disliked those balls. They felt very balloon-like.
They stayed up. Like fall. I caught it clean. Why aren't you falling in?
So those are always, and it's good. Like the science of motor learning shows that you should play with a variety of balls to challenge yourself, challenge your body to grow and perceive. But let's bring it back into the grass scene a bit, and I want to talk about you've played all over the country and for such a long period of time now at a high level that you've come across so many other high-level players, legends or just maybe they're not legends, maybe they're just a little unknown, but people, like, who are the people throughout your journey that have kind of stood out to you as either great players or unique challenges that you had to figure out how to either beat or that you've played with? What is kind of the sphere of influence that these people have had on you?
Obviously fun to think about when you get these relationships and you've played so many high-level matches against so many great players and great people. So to start, my idol, especially in like the transition into grass, was Mike Michelou.
Yeah.
So
good choice.
That season of 2018-ish, he, Bob, and Smo had run train really in the Wisconsin scene, and just seeing him flow and move with so much grace and athleticism. And he and I had met in high school. He also was basketball first and then made the conversion over to volleyball, which then became his college career. So he was always a mentor to me back then. So when I want to go see what I would look like in the grass, I would compare myself to Mike. So I would watch him live, I would have mine recorded, I would watch me back, and I'd compare myself. Why is he able to hit harder? Why can he hit more consistently? Why does he block this ball or dig this ball and I'm not? So that's where it all started. And then
what were the elements of his game that stood out to you?
Well, I'll call it like athleticism and grace, but it's almost like the cleanliness in movement in transition.
Yeah, he's super smooth.
Even if there's a huge wind gust, he can float and he will do the footwork correct to get to the ball, and just comfortable taking up a high range. So having the comfortability to trust the form, even when you have that much court to cover. Coming from indoor, there's 6 of you. You got to be good on this space here. You go to grass, you got to be good over there, you got to be good over there. So like seeing him do that with the same type of movement was what I would try to emulate.
Yeah, I think to me the one thing that's really stood out about Michelou for as long as I've known and played against him is that he's able to keep the ball in front of him really well as an attacker so that he can decide really late where he's going to hit the ball. Against some players, you can dive angle, dive line as a blocker and kind of get some. But I feel like against Michelou, the diving element is really unsuccessful because it's very easy for him to see it and then just hit away from you after you make that move. And so I've always found it frustrating to block against him until I was like, well, I'm just going to go line up on him and be big and force him to change from
trust the rest of your guys, 'cause
Right.
you can't defend everything with someone with that vision.
Right.
And like the other thing that was probably a first part of my game in grass that's still kind of a bread and butter is like the high 6. If someone blocks angle on me and the defenders split, having the comfortability to go 80% speed and really calibrate it to the back line where it's too far for each of the diggers, except for Chase Frischman, he gets there. And you can go over the block. So seeing Mike hit that shot.
Is that something like is probably open most of the time, or how often are you actually seeing that opening as you're approaching or hitting?
That's a good question. So a lot of people might feel the block and they might go over the block because most defenders don't double up and they would go away from the block. But for me, it was always seeing the defenders bolt sideways, and if that middle back starts to dive hard to the line, I know I had them beat. So for me, it was playing the diggers and knowing that if I keep it high enough, the block isn't going to matter. So having comfortability with the workouts I'd done, jumping rope, squatting, deadlifting, to where even as 6 foot, nothing, and like the same thing for you, feeling comfortable, just like I'm going to be big enough that when I see that, I can trust it, is huge.
Yeah, that OT swing is also something you see a lot of success with in the FIVB Pro Beach game, where the blockers are enormous. Some of them are 6'10", 7 feet tall, extremely athletic, and yet the person getting served will go OT, and that's because in doubles, of course, the defender is usually not going to sit behind the block. And you're right, it's not a full swing. You can't hit it hard enough to go. Very few people go OT bounce. It happens once in a while, but but OT 70-80% to the deep line is a really successful swing. And you've really mastered that. Another person who is probably better at it than you, though, is Tyler Wills, who you've obviously played a lot with. And at what point did he come into your sphere?
So right there at the back half of the summer of 2021, he and I started playing a lot together, and that was maybe the last influence to really want to get on the national scale, because that he had so much success in the Kentucky area when he was living in the South, where there was a lot of good grass triples down there for years. And he had played in the Iowa-Chicago area before then. So when he settled down in Wisconsin, he was ready to be done. And I'm like, dude, you're the best player I've seen in Wisconsin ever on the grass, especially if it's windy. There's no one better than you. We have to go after this. What do you mean? So he then got the itch a little bit back because he was welcomed in the friend group. He had success, and he was like, yeah, I can do this. So that's kind of when it started. Tyler and I playing. Our first tournament was actually one you ran, a battle at the 5-0s, which was really high level. We fit our games meshed right away because of his defensive moves and my block moves. I always felt comfortable that I could block the meat of the court. So I would watch for players that could really float and read along the perimeter. I had success with EJ before that. And having guys that can kind of float the perimeter, knowing that I could manipulate them. I wouldn't block it, but I could manipulate them to swing in that area, and it would be on the perimeter. And he would just dig everything and convert everything. So that's why I think on court, and especially tactically, there was just such a perfect fit. And then we played every tournament together for almost 2 years. And I think he had a stretch of winning 21 of 27 tournaments before we really kind of locked it down and played mostly on the national scale versus smaller regional tournaments. But his winning ability, his reach, it's so deceptive as a hitter. So when you talk about the OT swing, for him, he's not flying off the ground, but he's a tall dude, and his
super long arm,
his 7-foot wingspan in perfect form. So everyone's used to seeing a contact point. They'll line up on his shoulder line or his eyes, and they'll be here, and then his reach just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. So for him, and this is kind of like the way I break down film because I'm a complete nerd about it, is everyone has like a pocket that they hit from and some get out of jail shot, but for Tyler, his was always just a foot higher than everyone was ready for. So his ball control, his shot selection, and that unique perfection of form combined with his reach and athleticism was like, no one could really stop it, even nationally when they'd seen it for time.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had, I mean, with you and also when he's played with other people, he's always been a very difficult person to compete with because of his just ability to score, no matter what defensive scheme you throw at him. He and his consistency as a serve receiver, as a passer, he's able to handle.
He's not going to give you much.
Tremendous amount of pressure from the serve line. Yeah, one thing that you sent me in prep for this interview is a list of Chandler North's unofficial Wisconsin Regional Grass Volleyball Player of the Year, which we'll put up a screenshot in our video here. But yeah, it goes back to like 2016 or 17, something like that, and you list out who the top players are on the men's side each year.
The top one player of the year, and I tried to keep it as objective as possible. Who won the most regional tournaments? So when you think about that, it obviously bears weight to play more tournaments. And I think, so for years I played 25 plus tournaments a summer. That's April through September. 1.5 per weekend almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crazy amount of volleyball. So to keep your body healthy, to play at that high level week in, week out, I always thought any dog could have their day, because that's kind of how I started. I could get hot from attacking and kind of beat. Yeah. So that to me wasn't as impressive as to what guys like you and Bob were doing, where, oh my God, they just won their 4th weekend in a row. They won a tournament. They've proven that they can win in multiple ways, under wind, under rain, super hot and sunny, like against big physical blocking teams, against teams that are small and ball control really well. You have to win in so many different ways to be on that list, and that's what I wanted to strive. I wanted my game to be bulletproof, so I started to track who are these players that are winning 10 tournaments, 8 tournaments a summer.
And you know, it's a little bit interesting to me on that list is that you're not on it, and obviously you wrote it, and I'm just curious as to why you don't put yourself on the list.
I don't think I've ever been the guy that's won the most tournaments in a summer. It was like the #1 goal for me this past summer, and I played with Landon a lot, obviously, and he played a little bit more than me. We went against each other once, and that's where corn roast meant a little bit more to me, to knock him down or take that win. But I mean, he just had so much success this summer, and before that, Tyler was winning more than I was winning, a majority of them together. But if he went on his own or I went on my own, like, he was winning more.
Sure.
And then even in the summer that I had with EJ, where we had some good wins, EJ was winning with other people and had like 7 or 8 tournament wins that first COVID summer. So like, although I've had a 7-8 year stretch of solid win totals and success, never once have I been the top dog of the summer. So that's definitely something that's still on the top of the list to strive for.
Yeah, I think personally I got a little tired pretty quickly of the grinding every weekend, and it also coincided, like, when I was younger I didn't have any money, and so winning tournaments was a way to like pay rent and put food on the table. And then as I had other jobs in life, it became less important for me to go try to win some of the smaller events. But for me, like, one of the traits of like somebody who can be really successful, who's like a really great player, is somebody who does win with a variety of other players. That has an adaptability, has a mindset, has a way to improve their teammates, improve the floor and 100%. The ceiling their team. And you know, you've played with so many different people over your career and found success in those ways too. So I think that is a really great trait to look at when you're trying to say, okay, who's the best player? And it's like, well, who's changing teammates and still winning?
Yeah.
I think that's a good measure of it.